The best way to start this video is by showing you some clips from a movie called World Without Gravity. It's an Indian movie that came out in 2021, and it asked about what would happen if suddenly there was no more gravity on the Earth. The movie doesn't really focus on scientific accuracy, but rather what would happen to society. And spoiler alert, it gets pretty wild. But the movie does raise some interesting questions, like how long could humans survive without gravity? How would they live? What would happen to the world order? Could we even live to see another day? Before we get into that though, remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more fun science videos. Also, we have another channel that you might like called the Action Lab. We explore all kinds of cool stuff related to space, physics, and engineering. So check that out too. Alright, back to World Without Gravity. Let's just dive right into it with an explanation of how this movie makes sense. Even though the movie isn't realistic, there are some good ideas in there. In the movie, humanity doesn't suddenly start floating away into space because of a lack of gravity. Instead, something causes gravity to flip off like a switch. This is a good thing to think about, because it makes us consider what would actually happen if gravity stopped working. For example, the ground beneath our feet wouldn't suddenly turn into a giant trampoline and launch us into orbit. That's because everything would keep moving forward at the same speed. It was already moving. Because of this, you would be able to stand on the ground, but jumping would be a lot different. In fact, if you jumped while this transition was happening, you'd probably die because your legs would be completely unable to support your weight. Now, obviously, this would cause some serious problems. Buildings would no longer be able to hold people up. The ocean would no longer be held back by gravity, and it would expand until it reached a stable orbit around the planet, which is about 13,000 kilometers from Earth. At this point, the Earth would look a lot like one of the gas giants in our solar system with an atmosphere that extends hundreds of kilometers into space. So what happens next? Well, according to the movie, the Earth would start to shrink. This part is definitely not scientifically accurate. Instead of getting smaller, the Earth would start to fly away from the sun. As the Earth moves farther away from the sun, the sky would go from being blue to black as the sun becomes smaller and smaller. The temperature on Earth would eventually drop to negative 18 degrees Celsius, or 0 degrees Fahrenheit. At this point, the Earth would start to freeze over, which might actually happen sooner than you think. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why doesn't this actually happen? If gravity suddenly disappeared, why doesn't the Earth just fly away into space? The reason is simple. Everything is still connected to the Earth by inertia. Remember, the Earth is made up of trillions of objects, and each of these objects is affected by gravity. This means that even if gravity suddenly disappeared, the Earth would still be held together by the collective inertia of all of its parts. Eventually, though, the Earth would get so far away from the sun that this inertia wouldn't be enough to keep it in one piece. At this point, the Earth would start to fall apart, and humanity would have to find a new planet to call home. But that's just a theory, a fun little movie about what could happen if gravity disappeared. There's no real way to know what would happen until it happens. But one thing is for sure, it would be pretty wild. So do you think you could survive in a world without gravity? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos about everything under the sun and beyond. I know you're probably super curious about what happens when you mix baking soda and vinegar. You want to know more? Click the card on the screen now.